Some viewers may find the following video disturbing. Viewer discretion is advised.
Well, the host of Secular Talk, Kyle Kulinski, I guess got in a little bit of hot water on his podcast that he does, I think, once a week, Crystal Kyle and Friends, where he and Crystal Ball, formerly of Hill Rising, get together. They bring on guests, and they have kind of like a hour-long podcast type thing. Well, their recent guest was Vaush, okay? And Vaush is someone who gets a lot of mixed reactions. Apparently, there seems to be a lot of people who like Vaush. There's other people who think Vaush is disgusting and is a complete pedophile. There are just people who don't care for Vaush, okay? Now, I'm going to go out and say this. I'm not going to make any accusations about the man, but some of the things that's come out of his mouth are most definitely questionable. I'm going to be diving into that to break this video down. But I'm just flat out in the camp. I don't follow really that much of what the guy says and does. I know what I've seen, not just since this whole thing happened. I found Vaush before any of this. I listened to some of his videos, and maybe it was the videos I found, whatever. I just didn't really care for the guy's commentary that much. He was a very pro-Bernie guy, which, there's nothing wrong necessarily with that. I have my opinion about Bernie Sanders, but the big thing was I saw clips of him where he would repeat, deep state talking points, basically. Stuff like that. I'm just like, this guy's just a guy who's playing video games, doing live streams, talking politics. He's a little on the left. There was just nothing really there that I found from his commentary that drew me in to make me want to hear more of it, if that makes sense. So, and that's fine, because someone might not care for my show. Someone might not want to listen to what I put together. So, it's fine to have those disagreements. But basically, there was a lot of pushback to Kyle platforming Vaush. And Kyle took it upon himself to make a whole video explaining his defense and why he brought Vaush on the show, okay? So that being said, we're going to take a look at the clip right here. This is going to be Kyle talking about why he brought Vaush on the show and why he still defends doing that. Let's take a look.
So this week on Crystal, Kyle, and Friends, we had Vaush on the podcast, and the response was interesting. Everybody knows that I try my best to avoid reading reactions because it's so easy to go insane when you know that it's impossible to please everybody, because two people could watch the same thing and have polar opposite reactions. So, it's best to just do whatever you think is best and see where the chips fall. But I wanted to dive into this conversation, which I think is an important conversation, which is some of the criticism that we got over this podcast. Now, again, plenty of people didn't criticize it. They thought it was wonderful. They thought it was lovely. And but there were also plenty who did criticize it. Now, of course, the main critique is, how dare you platform him? Now, there's a lot of reasons that they give why they think he shouldn't be platformed, and I will say that most of the points that were made from people who were making that argument, I think, were beyond absurd. I think they were obvious smears. I think they are, they're little 5-second clips that are completely taken out of context. And so I think that a lot of people who were making the argument were just coming from a place of like, I don't like this person, and I'm working backwards from that conclusion. And so how dare you do X, Y, and Z that I don't want you to do? So
we gotta just put the first pause in right there. So the first thing that I want you to take away from this is he says that there were these little 5-second clips of Vaush that were taken out of context. I'm going to play some of the clips he's referring to here in particular, okay? But I have seen more floating around aside from this where he's arguing fair game for use of the N-word, basically, okay? So keep that in mind. Keep that in mind. that ain't the clip I'm going to be playing here in this video because I'm not that dumb. The guy wearing the cowboy hat that's white in South Carolina making a video where, you got another white guy continually using nah, not that dumb. YouTube will yeet my ass off here in a heartbeat, and I'm confident of that, okay? If not now, then they would certainly use it against me if the channel ever grew big enough. So I'm not going to do that. Not that dumb, okay? But I am going to play the clip of the other, and I want you to remember, he says these things were taken out of context. Now, you be your own judge. I'm going to make my case for why I genuinely don't really see how you could take these things out of context. But before I play that clip, okay, the big thing to remember here is the fact that he now says it's all out of context, and he later goes on the video. If you want to go check it out, go to Secular Talk. You'll see it's like Kyle defends himself from platforming criticism or whatever, right? He says he wants to talk to anyone who he believes to be intellectually honest, basically. Like a guy who's got a core set of values that are not over the top, which, debatable, we're going to get back to that. But he mentioned if they were in favor of genocide, I wouldn't want to talk to someone in favor of something like that. Okay, fair enough. I agree. I don't know that I would either. Okay, I believe in sitting down and having the conversation type stuff too, but I think there's still certain things that are just such bad taste. They're not conversations that really should be had, okay? So that being said, I'm going to now roll the clip that Vaush started getting trending around on Twitter. Frank Analysis, Franco, he shared it around. Other people have retweeted. Let's take a look at that, and then we're going to break down. Was he really just taken out of context, or is there something else going on here? Let's take a look.
I know these answers, but I'm asking you, okay? Why is it wrong to have child pornography?
This pedophiles, right, who buy child pornography, would you say they should not be held responsible for doing that?
Yes. Should consuming child porn be legal? I think that would be, yes, more legal and more ethically consistent. Yes, 100%. And this is going to be a real hot take. I have yet to hear a convincing moral or legal argument as to why possession of child pornography should be illegal.
Okay. So, I actually made a comment on Kyle's video. Actually, even when he was live streaming, but then I commented on the video afterwards as well. And some of the Secular Talk stands out there, of course, came to Kyle's rescue, arguably trying to defend Kyle in his defense of Vaush more than Kyle did himself. Not even Kyle. Now, I'm going to start by saying this. If you're going to take the time to make that video, Kyle, I mean, for God's sakes, you've got this YouTube channel that's just shy of 1 million subscribers now, right? If you're going to take the time to address this criticism, man, you can't have your stands doing a better job making your argument than you. That's just that's embarrassing. Come on now. If the stands are able to defend you better than you were defending yourself or defending Vaush or whatever, that's pretty embarrassing considering you took the time to make an entire video about the whole thing. I mean, just being honest. If you're going to take that time, put the right effort into it. What the stands were saying in defense, first, this wasn't one of the good points, was that a quote-unquote Nazi put that together. Now, that might be true, that might be not. I haven't researched to see who put the clip together. But I've got to be honest with you. What difference does it make? It's not fake. He said this. He did make these comments. What difference does it make who put the clip together? Do you not see the flaw in that logic? That you might as well be Hillary Clinton or CNN telling us we shouldn't read those Clinton emails because the quote-unquote Russians hacked and gave it to us. The United States government didn't give you that information to read. Those pesky-ass Russians over there in the Kremlin gave it to you, so you shouldn't read it because bad source. Even though it's truth, Just like, or take Russians out of it. WikiLeaks. Oh, that damn Julian Assange. We're bringing him up on charges. Unjustly so. He should not be brought up on charges, but they are bringing him up on charges. And because he is a quote unquote, according to the United States government, criminal who's released classified information, according to them, no, you shouldn't be reading that. Even though it's truth, even though it's things the American public arguably should know, it's letting us know about war crimes being committed that our government doesn't want to tell us about. It's letting us know about our government spying on us, but it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. No. As long as the source is bad, the message has to be bad too. That's what you secular talk stands sounded like. So congratulations, you truly fit the mold of being a Democrat. Yeah, they call the people on the right who defend the cops bootlickers. What the fuck are you, jackass lickers? You just love the Democrats so much you just go lick their party animal up one side and down the other? What the fuck is this? I mean, that's bullshit. So that's point number one. Let's just blow that one on out of the water, okay? That's a terrible defense for why these clips were so bad. Here was the at least better argument, was that Vaush was making the overall point that more or less child labor and sweatshops aren't necessarily legal in the United States, but there are American companies who outsource jobs to countries where they can get away with such stuff, and America allows products built by forced labor, in some cases, of children, which work them to death and violate this civil right and that. And so if we're going to allow that, then you should allow the other. To an extent, I see where they're coming from. But while I think both are atrocious, I don't like forced child labor. Let's be honest with ourselves. Society, if they put any empathy into a situation at all and put any thought into it, look at it from the lens of which one would I hate worse. So ask yourself, would you rather be forced to work in a sweatshop and bust your ass all day long? Or would you rather be forced into some kind of refinement and basically forced to be someone's sexual bitch at any given time? I know which one I would rather do. I'd rather work till I fell dead than be violated, because that is going to cause a mental scarring on you that there is no painkiller for. You might even get so mentally screwed up from shit like that, you might go and kill yourself if you had a hot chance to do it. Okay? That's fucking terrible. I would, and you look at it from the lens of, I wouldn't want to see my kid, if I ever have a kid one of these days, be put in either one of those predicaments. I think they're both sick. But if it were me being forced to go to one or the other, I know which one I'd probably, if I had a gun to my head, to say to do. And that's probably, okay, fine, I'll just go work in this damn factory over here or whatever. But no, I'm not going to agree to this. Maybe some people would, but I just don't see the normal American, if they had a gun to their head and a choice between those two options, going with the one Vaush is equivalating to working in sweatshops. So if most people wouldn't agree that they're already equal because they would take option A as opposed to Vaush's option, and that's why he's saying it should be legal, but they would take the sweatshop option, then that means that there's clearly a difference in how society looks at it. And that means not just that's how we've been propagandized, but it means they look at it and would say, if I had to take this versus this, then this seems like it would be the better of the shitty options. It doesn't mean you want either one. They're both abysmal, but it seems like most people would tend to think that the sweatshop stuff would be less abysmal than what Vaush is equivalating to it. Because you're looking at it from the lens of, okay, which one would I rather be stuck in? I know which one I would choose. Which one would you choose? Let's just be honest. That being said, I mean, it's going to be up to interpretation. Okay? Here's the final point that I made to all the Kyle stands, all the secular talk stands out there, okay? We could go back and forth on what Vaush is or who Vaush is, and is he a pedophile? Is he just trying to be a provocateur? Is he just sitting around making these arguments and you know, for simple conversation? Or is he just, you know, sick dude that just talks about all kinds of shit and somehow seems to get away with it? Whatever. Okay? There are a couple more points here. Kyle said he wanted to talk to someone who was intellectually honest, right? The Vanguard did a good job of breaking this down. Vaush, if he's so intellectually honest, he went on this show and was nice as he could be to Kyle, to Crystal Ball. Funny enough, okay, he has talked mad shit about Crystal Ball in the past, okay? Furthermore than that, he was completely against the whole force the vote thing. Didn't think it was a good idea. And Kyle, who was for force the vote, did bring it up, but didn't really push him on it. So your enjoyable podcast there, Kyle, you dropped a big ball. Force the vote was a big thing, and the only real answer that Vaush seems to give about why he wasn't for force the vote is because he doesn't like Jimmy Dore. But yet, as Vanguard pointed out in their show, earlier in that entire little bit, he was talking about why he became the YouTube channel that he turned into, Vaush, okay? Why he started what he started. And that was because he realized the right had all these different people online, blah, 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 blah. So he was going to be someone more to the left who would come out kind of loud and aggressive type thing. And as Vanguard pointed out, aggressive, progressive. Who does that sound like? If only there was a jagoff comedian that used to be on a show called Aggressive Progressives. Damn, who in the fuck could that have been? I think it was some fucking Jimmy Dore guy that you just talked all that shit about later on in that same podcast. As far as like why you didn't like force the vote, you've talked shit about him before that podcast about the force the vote thing, but you blatantly said like, why do I need to give another reason? You mentioned Jimmy Dore. Fuck you, you fucking little yard gnome. I don't agree with Jimmy Dore on everything either, but honestly, Kyle, that's intellectually honest to you. That's consistent to you. Your own fucking argument at this point doesn't even hold water, man. And Kyle, you know what? I don't want to talk a lot of shit about Kyle Kulinski. He's one of the people that I was watching before I started doing my own YouTube show. I don't agree with him on everything. I don't agree with Jimmy Dore on everything. And I'm probably a lot more to the right than both of them. But I do like to listen to at least their point of view. Between the two, I like Jimmy Dore a little bit better. I think Jimmy Dore is just more willing to go into territories and talk about shit that Kyle's not, because he's still got some TYT connections and this and that. So I tend to like Jimmy Dore the better of the two. But I don't agree with both of them on everything. But Kyle, you got to understand one thing, man. I told this to to his secular talk Kyle stands, okay? I said, look, Kyle can talk to whomever the fuck he wants. You know, if I'm going to sit here and say he shouldn't have someone on his show, or he shouldn't be talking to someone, then I'm honestly going to kind of sound like those people who attacked Tulsi Gabbard for meeting, you know, with Assad. Or Trump for meeting with Kim Jong-un. Sometimes you got to be able to sit down and have conversation with even your enemies. That's something that grown-ups do. And I think that's something that even Kyle was kind of getting toward. But and I don't think he was calling Vaush an enemy either. But you do have to be able to talk to your enemies. That's how you can work out peace. That's how you can avoid war if you're at government offices. So if I'm going to criticize him and say, oh, he shouldn't have brought Vaush on a show, I mean, I'd be hypocritical to do that, in my opinion. If I defended Tulsi talking to Assad, if I defended Trump talking to Kim Jong-un, I'd be hypocritical to say there's something wrong with Kyle bringing Vaush on Kyle's own show. It's Kyle's own show. He can bring on whoever he pleases. So I might sound a little different than like, you know, some other people who look at it like, oh, he shouldn't have been on there. However, you have the freedom to bring on whoever you want. But if you get bad reactions and really negative reactions for bringing them on, fucking take it like a man, dude. You made that decision. You made the decision to bring on a guy who's argued that there should be nothing wrong with saying the N-word, even if you're white, basically. That the N-word is just basically fair game, okay? You brought that guy on. You brought on the guy who keeps, and if there isn't some sort of, you know, pedophilia thing going on there, and I'm not saying there is, I don't know Vaush. I don't know the man. But when you use that argument to equivalate to the child labor thing so much, you're opening up the can of worms for people to speculate. If all I did was sit around constantly and talk about controversial crap like the Ku Klux Klan or slavery or the Confederacy what the fuck do you think people are going to speculate about me? If every time I have to make an argument about, you know, sweatshop conditions today being like what slaves had to do a long time ago, and I constantly talk about how they're basically the same, it almost makes it, to some would probably say, it seems like I'm downplaying what slavery was and how bad it was. Even though we got terrible working conditions today, you at least still get paid and you don't have to live on a fucking plantation, okay, and eat whatever scraps are left off the fucking animal that they ate up at the big house. The fuck is that? If I did nothing but make that argument, people would speculate shit like that about me, especially when you're fucking wearing this, you're white, and you're from South Carolina, and you have the accent that I have. People would speculate the hell out of that, and they'd be like, I don't know about him. He seems a little sus. I don't know. I feel like this dude might be going off after these videos and putting on bed sheets or some shit. That's what the fuck they'd probably speculate about me. So understand, Kyle, you want to bring these guests on your show, it's your fucking show. Bring whoever you want on your show. I'll bring whoever the fuck I want on my show now that I'm going to start bringing on more guests. But understand, there could be backlash. And I mean, if you get that backlash, then just take it on the chin. You chose to bring that guest on your show. You know he's made these comments. You say they're taken out of context. Again, I think better arguments could have been used. And I think to consistently equivalate it to that many times definitely raises the suspicion. Okay? So knowing that, you chose to bring him on your show. And if that's what you wanted to do, you're, again, welcome to do that. Understand negative consequences might come with it. Joe Rogan has brought a lot of people on his show for his podcast that I'm sure he's had criticism for, considering he'll bring people on from the right, he'll bring people on from the left, he'll bring on, one week he'll have on Alex Jones, and then on another occasion he brought on fucking Bill Maher. That's a stark contrast, isn't it? I mean, that's a pretty big contrast there. You've got Bill Maher, who told us that Hillary Clinton was a better option than Donald Trump. And you've got Alex Jones that was absolute, no, Hillary Clinton, smells like sulfur because she's a demon, and so elect Donald Trump. I mean, what the fuck? Come on, Kyle. You know your buddy Joe, and you've been on Joe Rogan's show. And he's talked to you. He's talked to Steven Crowder. He's talked to Cenk Uygur. He's talked to Ben Shapiro. He's talked to Jimmy Dore. He's talked to people like Jimmy, and then he's talked talked to more people on the right as well. I mean, he's talked to all sorts of different people who have different views. So Jimmy's caught, or not Jimmy, but Joe has caught all kinds of shit for who he's brought on his show. Come on. Come on. Dave Smith, complete libertarian. There's a good contrast. He's brought on Dave Smith. He's brought on Jimmy Dore. I mean, he talks to all kinds of people too. So, Kyle, the overall point is, man, if you're going to bring people like that on your show, understand you could be getting some backlash because this guy says things that trigger people in a very uncomfortable way. And even though I might really not like a lot of stuff Vaush says or care for his content, am I going to go after someone who is opening discussions to make people question certain things because society has deemed it as a taboo? I'm not going to say no one should ever talk about them. If I did that, then I would also have to criticize someone like Marilyn Manson for being the way he was towards things like the Bible and stuff like that, and especially when you're like me and you are a person of faith anyway. Okay? Turns out, though, I really don't have a problem with Marilyn Manson. I heard his argument, and so if that's what Vaush is really doing all that for, do you, man, do you. But if you want, just understand, as I've said, whether it be about the people who want to go out and riot, the people who want to defund the police, the people who want to do all this shit, your actions come with consequences. And if you want to do the actions, have the fucking guts to accept the consequences. The fucking worst thing possible for me, it eats me up. Just fucking gets under my skin and annoys me like no other, is someone who comes across to me like a whiny little bitch. That just gets under my fucking skin like nothing else. And when you make a choice, no one put a gun to your head and made you make this choice. You chose, this is my guest, and you bring him on, and then you get all the negative backlash. You give your reasons for why. I don't think your reasons were very validated from the evidence I've seen. Even your stands couldn't make that good of an argument to me. Don't bitch. Don't bitch. Don't bitch. How many fucking, other than someone like Alex Jones, how many times has Joe Rogan ever used his podcast to defend why he brought a guest on because all the fucking haters out there had shit to say about it? Come on, Kyle. Really? I mean, you say you try not to read the responses. Well, motherfucker, something clearly got you butthurt about those responses. But be a man. Be a man. If you want, look, I engage people if they come in sometimes in my comment section and I feel like they're coming in with bad intentions just to start shit. If they're coming from a place of bad intentions, I'll engage. But I don't run around, you got no reason to criticize me. You can't do that. It's my fucking show, not yours. I'll talk about what I want, and you just shut the fuck up. I will tell them if they don't like my content and go somewhere else. I mean, what the fuck? That's common sense. If you don't like my show, don't watch my show. Kyle, to be fair, said that about his. But to make a whole video defending, like, what the fuck? Because you had a guest on. Now, if you're trying to defend comments you yourself made, that'd be one thing, but to defend why you had a guest on your fucking show, I think it's overkill. I think it's just absolute overkill. I don't think it's necessary, and I think it made Kyle look like a whiner. Dude, you made that choice. I mean, anybody can have their disagreement, but as you point out, it's your show. Talk to whoever you want. Talk to whoever you want. But as far as Vaush is concerned, Vaush has his own show. He can talk about whatever he pleases as long as he's allowed to have a show. Sure. Talk about it. Tell us all how the N-word isn't really that bad, Vaush. Tell us all how Force the Vote's just overblown and a jagoff comedian is screwing us over because he wants to bitch about AOC. Sure, Vaush, you're doing such great shit for the world, but you got the right to do it, Vaush. You got the right to do it. So if that's what you want to do, then do it. But Kyle, understand when you want to bring provocateurs like that on your show. Like if you ever invited me to come on your show, which I doubt's ever going to happen. But if you ever did, there'd probably be a lot of people, because I don't endorse this idea of socialism being such a great thing and capitalism being such a big bad boogeyman, there'd be a lot of people, because you're a quote-unquote progressive, who'd probably try to take your ass to the fire over that too. It's called personal choices. Personal choices come with consequences. Good, bad. Sometimes could be both. Sometimes you never know. I mean, it could be a good consequence, could be a bad consequence. You just better be willing to accept whatever it is. It was your choice to do it. That's all I'm saying. That's all I'm saying. So, I don't see how you can take that out of context. I don't, even if he was making the case for the sweatshop argument, I don't think it was a good argument. I think it was very poorly thought and put together. I don't think that they're even on a level playing field. And my evidence to that would be, again, ask yourself if you had a choice between that and what he's equivalating to the sweatshop stuff, sweatshop being here, and what he's equivalating. I'm not going to mention it. You heard it in the clips. But ask yourself, gun to your head, you got two choices. You want to work in a sweatshop and be basically worked like a dog, or you want to be forced into doing what he's equivalating to that. And if you're not saying, well, they both seem about as bad to me, so I guess it doesn't really matter. If you're not saying that and you're choosing this option, then you're only making my case. It's not a good argument to have. It's not a good argument to have. You could look at the sweatshop labor and say, borderline to that would be some of the poor conditions, you know what I mean, that we already have here, or something, or like, for example, I would say even you could equivalent it to, not going as far as what he said, but prostitution. You could possibly equivalent to that, because even though the kid thing is forced, okay, as far as the sweatshop labor is concerned, prostitution isn't necessarily forced, but it's still banned and it's a taboo right now. There's other arguments you could make, even though I don't think those are entirely the same either, again, because one's forced, one isn't necessarily, but there are some who, quote-unquote, have pimps out there, and they do still force them to hit the street, so you could even argue, in a way, prostitution could be forced, okay? There's other ways you could have made the case, Vaush. I'm not going to sit here and brainstorm and try to do them all for you. But it was your bit. It was your segment. You could have thought about it a little bit better before you were just overloading your mouth. Okay? Just talking out your ass and saying things that were going to trigger really bad responses. You made the choice to make that argument, and you got the backlash from it. Deal with it. And Kyle, if you want to bring these guests on your show, deal with the backlash you're probably going to get for doing it. That's all I got to say about this. So if you liked the video, hit the thumbs up. Drop comments in the comment box below. We'll see you next time right here on the Lone Wolf Podcast.